Welcome to the AFBE Leadership Talk program, where we aim to inspire effective leadership and promote diversity at corporate leadership level. I'm your host, Dr. Roy Bitrus, and with me today is Coach Buki Ishola. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the AFBE Leadership Talk program. It's a new year. And even though today is the 1st of February, I'd like to say Happy New Year. I guess it's never too late to say Happy New Year to everyone. So Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome. Today, we have a special guest with us. Before that, I'd like to thank Emma, my team member, and Bumi, my team member, who are always here to support me. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce our very special guests. I almost say Dr. Buki because, being a coach, I feel that you're almost like a doctor. But I would like to introduce our very special guest, Coach Buki Ishola. She's an executive coach with a focus on helping African diaspora professionals to get seen. She is known and she's rewarded, and she helps them to get recognized. Now, Buki started her career at EY, where she qualified as a chartered accountant and a chartered tax advisor. And prior to finding her own coaching business, she's been practicing and transitioning from being a professional to a full-time coach, and has spent 15 years in her career as a tax accountant and an international tax specialist. Now, her mission is to help African diaspora professionals to thrive in their careers and leaders address Black inclusion matters effectively. Now, combining her city career and entrepreneurial experiences with her coaching expertise, she helps clients to elevate their careers and results at work. Buki, it's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Roy, and everyone else.
Thank you. So let's jump into the topic of today: New Year, new beginnings.
Yeah.
How to elevate your career in year 2023. I've been looking forward to this because I believe most of us want to elevate our careers. Most of us want to be the best individuals, best professional that we can be. And of course, being able to progress or transcend into senior leadership roles. So, Buki, over to you. Talk to us.
Okay. Well, thank you, Roy. And good evening, everyone. Really excited to be here to give this talk. And as Roy said, really, one of my delights is just helping professionals to rise in their career, to thrive, and really realize their potential and go as far as they want to in their career. So we're going to be talking about how to elevate in 2023. And of course, we're 1 month into 2023. It's the 1st of February today. So it'll be good to get a feel from the people in the room. How are you feeling about 2023? Optimistic or pessimistic? Just put something in the chat, ho or p. How are you feeling about 2023 so far? Okay, someone there with shades. Yeah, let's get some feedback. Getting into the swing of things. Okay, slowly. But let's get some more. We've got a few people on the line. Let's get some more people commenting. Enthusiastic and is excited. Ambitious, okay. Right. So it sounds like many of us are feeling optimistic, or at least more of the people optimistic. Yes. So whether you're feeling optimistic or pessimistic, I believe you're going to get something out of this. This caters for everyone. So let's get started. Really, the focus on today, for me, from my perspective, is helping you design the professional life you want in 2023. Because let's face it, you're going to turn up to work day in, day out, and your career is going to happen, whether you're intentional about it or not. But the purpose of this is to help you to be intentional. So you create a 2023 that you look back on with pride, with joy, with fulfillment, that you aim at things. Even if you don't get it, the fact that you were actually aiming for something is really, really important. So I'd like to share the agenda with you. Right, it's got, okay. So a twofold agenda. One is to identify 7 steps to elevating your career in 2023, and then discuss some career elevation strategies. Now, it's an interactive session, so I'm going to be inviting you to participate and really to contribute. So I want to encourage you to go ahead and close all the other tabs you have open and really give yourself the gift of this 60 minutes to design your 2023. Now, I've got some people coming in. Roy, is someone else able to admit them? Because I think they
yes, just don't worry about them. We are getting them in.
Okay, great. So that's the agenda. Now, I'm a coach. So if you've ever worked with a coach, one of the great things that coaches do is help you to elevate your thinking. They get you thinking in ways that you might not ordinarily do. So throughout this presentation, there are going to be questions to get you thinking, because you would agree with me that what elevation means to you in 2023 might be different to what elevation means to me. What it means to Roy is different to what it means to Hema and to everyone else on this call. So it's really personal. So let me start by asking you this question. Do you want information or do you want change? And I'd like you to, write something in the chat and let me know, information or change. Which one are you after? And if you see me looking sideways, it's because I'm looking at the chat. Can we have a bit of both? Can I have both? Okay. Both. If you had to choose one, okay. If you had to choose one, a lot of smart people, what do you want? Information or change? Change. Tatinda says change. That name sounds familiar. Change. So let me explain the difference between the two. Information feeds your mind, but it doesn't necessarily change you. It doesn't necessarily give you results. Many of you might know someone that has a lot of knowledge, but their results doesn't quite match the level of knowledge they have. I always say this, you could be a walking encyclopedia, lots of knowledge, but not enough results, not enough action. So while information is good, change is even better. Change is really what you want. It's through change that we create results. And this is the thing about change. Change requires your participation. So if you're just sitting here and listen passively, you'll get less than if you engage with a session. So that's why what my desire as a coach is to create change for people, not give them information. Information is free and available on Google. Really, you haven't just come here to listen to information. It's really about creating change for you and your career. So on that note, I hope everyone else is ready for change. Is that yes? If I get a yes, yes, let me say yes. Let me get yes on the chat. You ready? We're all ready for change. I can't see everyone nodding. Okay. Right. Great. So let me show the agenda again. I said we're going to be going through 7 steps to elevating in your career. Really, what I'm going to be giving you are 7 questions for you to think about. And those questions will give you the steps. Your answers will give you the steps to elevating in your career. There is no blueprint of do this, do that, do that. It really doesn't work. Your careers are different. We're all at different stages. So that's why I want to invite you to get a pen, get a piece of paper, engage in the chat as I go through the questions so that you can really get something personal and actionable out of this. Agreed? In agreement? Let me get some nods. Yes.
Yes.
Great. And then, so we're going to go through the 7 steps to elevating in your career that you're going to design. And then I'll give you some more like general strategies. You can have a discussion around that. So put your questions on the chat and the leadership team can draw my attention to any questions that I miss. So on that note, well, let me introduce myself. If you were here at the beginning, Roy already introduced me, but I'm an executive coach and speaker, and my focus is on really supporting high performance, accelerating leadership growth, and making career advancement happen at a good pace. I'm really keen to support, especially Black professionals, to really unleash their talent in the marketplace and get rewarded for their brilliance. So my mission is to help you rise in your career, be known and rewarded for your brilliance. By the start of life as a professional coach, I actually have a science background. I studied pharmacy at university in London, and after finishing my degree, I realized I really didn't want to work as a pharmacist. So I went to the city and I retrained as an accountant and specializing in tax. So I was an oil and gas tax specialist for just under 15 years. And I actually spent some time in Aberdeen working and growing my career in tax, and then decided to move on and do something new again. And I founded Citadel Coaching, and that's the work I do now, supporting professionals, as I said, to rise and thrive in their career. And I also do work on inclusive leadership. So my clients, come from really all over the West. I have clients from North America, from Europe, from as far as Australia, and I have some clients in the Middle East as well. As you can tell, I work primarily with African diaspora professionals, and we're scattered around the globe. So I work with a wide variety of clients. All right, so that's all about me. Now, let's get back to why you're here, because I'm sure you're not just here to listen to me. You're here to, make change and create change in your career. So 7 steps to elevating in your career. So as I go through these questions, I'm going to invite you, close all the open tabs and really be present and participate. So this is the first question that I'm going to invite you to answer. What is working well in your career now? And here's why we're starting with this. We're typically always thinking about what to do next, what's not working, how to get to that next level. But really, the foundation of the success you're going to create in 2023 is going to be the successes you've created in the past. The best way to create success is to build on what is already working. So it's always good to start from a place of strength, to actually look at what is working well in your career. So think about the areas of strength, think about areas where you get good feedback, think about areas where you built a good brand for yourself and your source of truth in the workplace, and people refer to you, come to you for things. So I want you to think about that. What is working well in your career now? And feel free to drop some points in the chat as well. Very important to start from this. Know what's not working, know the areas you need to develop, but what is working well so you can build on your strengths. Okay. Now move on to the next one, the next question, and it's around, I want you to think about what you want to see happen in your career in 2023. Now, I don't want you to think about this from a limited mindset. Often we can aim low and then we actually eat lower, which is not ideal. But I want you to fast forward to the end of 2023 and imagine it's 31 December 2023 and you're reflecting on the year ending and you've had an amazing year. You've done better than you thought you were going to do. Things have worked out brilliantly for you. What would have happened for you to have had such an amazing year? I want you to think about that and write it down and share some things in the comments as well. What would make 2023 amazing for you? So this is about really being intentional about what you want to create and see happen in 2023. So on this point, I would like to see some comments in the chat. What do you want to see happen in 2023? Great role and team. Thanks, Bassy, for sharing. Anyone else? Do share and try and be specific as well. Exactly what you want to see happen. And then the mind love. I'm a coach, so as you're responding, I will actually give you some coaching tips. I said the mind loves specificity. So being very specific in what you are aiming for allows you to get really specific ideas on how to make it happen. When it's general, then it can be harder for the mind to pinpoint. What you want is very specific, so you're just opening your mind to receiving ideas on how to make it happen. Because this is what creating your 2023 is. This is what designing your 2023 is about, getting really specific so you can get ideas to make it happen. A raise, a promotion to more senior role internally or externally. Right. Okay. So hold that in mind, what you've identified, hold it in mind as we move to the next question. Now, who do you need to be to make what you've written in number 2 above reality? Who do you need to be? So this is about identity. It's about embodying today the behavior and attributes of the person that you're aspiring to be tomorrow. You see, that's a principle of how we are promoted. You have to look like it before you become it. So it's looking at, okay, for me to be promoted, who do I need to be? How do I need to be operating? How do I need to be seen by my stakeholders at work so that I look like it? And at the point when they're having that discussion, in the roundtable discussion and the panel discussion on who's getting promoted, I'm already in the role. I already appear to be someone acting in the role that I'm looking to step to. Is this making sense? Yeah. Any questions so far?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm struggling with number 3.
Right. Okay.
Who do you need to be to make number 2 happen?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, do I need to be myself? Because if I'm on a certain trajectory and it's just a matter of time,
yeah,
it's safe to say I'm okay being myself,
yeah,
or who I want to be in the future, or the person I see myself becoming, in the future.
Yeah. So this is about the attributes. So let's say you're operating at a level, you're looking to become a senior manager, or you're looking to be a manager. Well, how does a manager operate her work? What are some of the things they do? How do they carry themselves? So one of the ways that you can actually nail this down is to look at the roles and responsibility, like the descriptions. Many organizations, they will have descriptions of how the expectations of people at each level. So this is what we're talking about here. So this is not necessarily you changing your personality or becoming someone else, no, but it is going to require you to become a more refined version of yourself. So that's really how we get promoted. You're going to have to demonstrate skills at a higher level and demonstrate higher level attributes. So it's really understanding, the requirements of the person that achieves what you want to achieve into. Is this clearer, Roy?
This is amazing. It's amazing how it's very clear now, and it's straightforward. It does make sense. Yes.
Yeah.
I did wonder, Buki, just in terms, before I continue, I think there was somebody who put their hand up. I don't know if they've put their hand down or if they still had a question. I think it was Kemi, but we'll get to that shortly. I did wonder how much imposter syndrome can interrupt that process of trying to imagine yourself as the person you're trying to be, because chances are that the people who are doing that or the people who are trying to make the move are already struggling with a lot of limiting behavior, I would imagine. It's the reason why, people are looking for coaches.
Yeah.
So where do you almost take on the burden of having to bear the imposter syndrome for a little while until you become the thing? Does that ever have to happen, or is that something that we can avoid totally?
I think sometimes when people say imposter syndrome, sometimes it can actually just be inferiority complex. So it's very important to actually nail it down. And the reality is, let's say again, look at the example, you're an engineer, you're a senior engineer, you're looking to get to asset lead or principal engineer. The reality is you have the raw skills and talent to get that because you have the ingredients. The next level, and everyone else that is going to become that, to get to that next level, they've been in the position you're in. So it's having a healthy opinion of yourself, knowing what you're capable of, and then doing the work that is required. Now, if you think you have a problem with imposter syndrome, you're right. So that one of the questions further down that I ask is, where am I holding myself back? So that would be an area that you need to work on.
Okay, and I suppose the point that you made earlier about what have you done well before and how can you build that as the foundation for other things that you can possibly be better at in the future comes in here. Okay,
absolutely. And whenever we're going to the, aiming for the next level, there is going to be an element of working on your confidence, because the reality is where you're aiming for, you haven't been there before. If you could, if you could be there, you would be there already. So the fact that you're not there already actually indicates that there's something you need to work on. So having to work on confidence is not a big issue. The big issue is not facing it. The big issue is letting it, letting it lie and not handling it. And I think that's where we sometimes have problems, where people don't take it seriously, and then it leads on to bigger issues. Is there another question?
No, you can carry on.
Okay. So.
Sorry, if you can type the question in the chat group, that would really be great, please. Thank you.
All right. So having identified who you need to be to make what you've set out in number 2 happen, then think about what skills do I need to demonstrate to make it happen. So there's who you need to be, and there's also skills that you need to demonstrate. So it might be to do with some sort of leadership skills or some other technical skills. Whatever it is, this is where you have to go through what you're aiming for and look at what do you need. But there is, whenever we're looking, and I think we should all be in this position, as a coach, there's a next level for me in my business. There's a next level for me as a coach. So for every one of us that is really growth-minded and want to realize our potential, we have like really big a resource of potential inside of that we need to unleash and untap, and it's going to be unfolding stage by stage. So there's always going to be a gap between where you are and where you need to be. And for some, it might just be basic as networking skills. You're highly skilled technically, but in the areas of like the softer skills like networking, building connections at work, those are the things that are holding you back. So it's just identifying where is the gap for me. And one of the ways to look at to help you identify the gaps is also to look at the people at the level that you're looking to reach. How are they operating? So that's really important around the skills. And the key word here is demonstrate. I also find for people from underrepresented groups, many times we actually have many of these skills, but things like imposter syndrome, inferiority complex, it makes us hold back such that our competence then become, it leads to people doubting it. Maybe we're not taking ownership of things. And so really, really be mindful of where your gap is. So give you a moment to think about that as it relates to your goal. So is everyone walking through it? Because it's really important. Think about what you want to achieve in number 2, and then reflect on these questions with that in mind. Okay, I'll move on to question 5. Now, whose support would be beneficial to make what you want to see happen in 2023 a reality? Because here's the deal: you do not achieve success alone. When it comes to getting promoted, you need someone to pull you up. You always need someone senior to you to pull you up. And it's important for people to know you, like you, and trust you, because that's really the basis of people elevating. They know you, they like and trust you. And that know, like, and trust is really just a product of relationships. It's a product of making time to build relationships with people. And again, this is an area for my work as a coach that people from our backgrounds, underrepresented groups, tend to struggle with, because we're very comfortable with working hard. Many of us have worked extremely hard to even get into the roles that we're doing, and we rely a lot on our technical skills. But if you've been around the workplace for a while, you know that technical skills alone, it doesn't get you to the top. It's foundational. It gets you through the door. But if you're going to have influence, if you're going to have impact, if you're going to have a seat around the table, you have to build really like enabling relationships that amplify your efforts, that amplify your work. And I'll say this, that the onus is on us to really initiate those relationships. In my career, when I worked in corporate world, that was what I had to do. When I realized that opportunities were going to others and I was not getting those opportunities, I needed to change the dial in how I was connecting with people and really being upfront and making time to book, getting over any confidence issues and really booking time in people's diary and really connecting with them, making demand of people, requesting what you need. I think that's really important, not being shy. And sometimes you have to ask over and over again, but it's really important to identify the support that you need in order to be successful. Because even when you don't have those relationship support, you could be delivering good work, but it's still, you don't get as far. Any questions on this? Okay. So 2 more questions, there's 7 questions. So these 7 questions, again, they're turning into steps for you. So at the end, you have your own action plan. Again, I'll invite some people to share what they got. And number 6, now this is key. Where are your opportunities? When we started from number 1, where we're building on what is working well. We're building on past successes. Also look at where your opportunities are, because success is largely a product of being prepared and showing up when it matters. Being prepared and showing up when it matters. And when it matters is when the opportunity arises. Okay, so you come into a session like this, for everyone that has joined, your people that are demonstrating that you care about your career, you've tuned in on an evening after work when you could be relaxing. So clearly you care about your career. But in terms of getting to that next level, we have to pay attention to the opportunities around us. So think about your strengths, look at industry trends and industry shifts, and think about how are you positioning yourself to meet those? Because what you don't want to be is to be the one that gets caught off guard, or the ones that you wake up and you realize your job is moving to somewhere in Asia, or moving to a low-cost jurisdiction, and it comes to you as a surprise. Well, if you've been following the trends and following what's going on in the industry, then you ought to have been aware that this might be happening, and therefore repositioning yourself for how you'd want to take your career if this were to happen. It's very important for us to understand what's going on in the market and positioning ourselves to take advantage of these opportunities. And then this is the last question. Where and how are you holding yourself back? And this is probably this is the most important one, because it doesn't matter what we say in 1 to 6. Ultimately, you have to take action to make everything real and to make everything happen. And oftentimes we find that we hold ourselves back. Many times also not consciously, you don't know what you don't know. So there have been people who have delayed their promotion because they were just going to work and working hard, not realizing that actually, I need relationships, I need sponsors to be able to get ahead. Or there are people who were working hard at work, thinking they were positioning themselves for promotion, but they weren't actually fully knowledgeable on what was required for them to get promoted. They didn't know the key KPIs that were going to be measured, and it was time for your promotion, and that was when you were being told things that you should have done that you didn't know about. So really identify areas where you're holding yourself back. And how do you find this? We're really talking here about opinions and beliefs that do not support the result you want to achieve. So it's like, maybe you have the experience, but then what happens?
And then oh no, probably I'm not going to get it. I move on. That kind of pattern I've seen in myself.
So say that again. So a problem
For example,
happens.
I see the job application or I see the opportunity, even though I fulfill all the requirements.
Yes.
And I said, okay, maybe I'm not going to get it. Maybe that place is not. I'm not going to fit. I start to make a lot of story.
Okay. All right. But you're aware you're the one doing it.
Yeah. Now this week I've been reflecting quite a lot. Yeah. So yeah.
But can you do something different? Can you take a different action?
I wouldn't know how to take action.
Okay, so if you say you've met all the criteria, you meet all the requirements for the role, what stops you from applying?
I have no clue. Imposter syndrome.
But you're the one making it up. You're telling yourself you have imposter syndrome. If you stop telling yourself you have imposter syndrome and just apply for the role.
Okay.
It's just as simple as that. Because at the end of the day, it's a story you've made up. You've made up a story that you don't fit in because of the color of your skin. You actually have no evidence because wherever, the new place that you're going to work, you've just seen an application, you've just seen their website, you haven't interacted with people. So if you become aware that all of that story is just something you've made up, so you're not going to fit in and anything else. So just make up a different story. So
Okay.
make up a story that, I'm highly qualified, I can go in there, I will prepare for the interview. If you focus on what you want, I think this is the key thing for all of us. When you start focusing on what you want, and if I'm focusing on facts, because imposter syndrome is just, I've coached so many people on imposter syndrome, and the root of it is people just make up stories, right? If you get rooted in facts, you will go a lot further. Yeah. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, there's a question here, from Anastasia. She says, how do you sell yourself to employers as a young graduate who had previous work experience from outside the UK?
Okay. Yeah. So previous experience outside the UK in the field that you're applying to or in a different field? But regardless of what the answer is, the reality is this. If you go through the application and they're looking for certain attributes, what you have to sell is demonstrate that you have those attributes. So I think it's leading with those attributes and how you've applied them wherever you're coming from. And then also target inclusive organizations as well. I think it's also a game of numbers. And yeah, some organizations are more inclusive than others, and they're more open to overseas candidates. But I think you need to lead with your attributes. You need to lead with what they go through, the key things they're looking for, whether it's leadership skills or communication skills, and just make sure you submit a solid application that is really flagging those attributes. As someone reads your application and they're just going tick, 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 you're ticking all what they've asked for in the in the job spec.
If I may add to that, I think from an AFBE point of view, this is one of the reasons why we have programs such as Transition. Transition is for young graduates or people who are just about to leave university, young leavers as well. And the whole idea is to run mock interviews, to review their CVs, but also help them to position themselves adequately for the industry. Because ultimately, sometimes it can be tricky. People might tell you this is what you need to do, but you're like, where do I start from? And sometimes what you just need is some form of guidance. So what happens during the transition program is, number one, you have an opportunity to network with someone who possibly has reviewed CVs multiple times and has helped people get into certain job roles as well. And what happens is they can help you to understand how you need to position yourself and sell yourself appropriately to the employer, trying to align the skill sets that you've gained with what the job requires as well. So I would advise you, Anastasia, if you haven't participated in any transition program, I would advise you to take a look into it or get in touch, and we would help direct and guide you. Buki, over to you.
Yes, and I think it's also just going around and and connecting with people. I remember when I was applying for graduate programs, you do get intimidated for sure. But the point is this is where resilience comes in. You just have to keep going. You have to keep going. You have to go for all the different open days, inside days, and really immerse yourself in the organizations you're targeting. So you actually begin to speak their language because you're spending so much time with them on different, using different opportunities, that it becomes easier for you to navigate there. So I get scared of writing cover letters. I get tired of putting in my applications. I think that's a matter of just building resilience. I mean, let's be frank, creating success is not easy. That's why there are fewer successful people than unsuccessful people. So yes, it's going to be harder, and it is the reality. If you've come from abroad, yes, you have additional barrier. But if you just don't focus on the barrier and just focus on the goal, I want to break into the industry and just commit to being relentless in pursuing that opportunity. And even more importantly, also is really getting wise and strategic. So around what Roy said, not just AFBE, you might want to connect. I think there's Black Professional Scotland. There's so many other organizations that are really focused on supporting you. Just connect to as much help as you need. And if you build the resilience and get through it, it will help you in future. So it's really that there is no way around it. Yes, it's frustrating, but that's just the way you create success.
And just on the back of that as well, Buki, I know that one of the questions that you asked was, who do you need in your corner? I'm paraphrasing now.
Yes.
But I just wondered if you could give us a bit more insight into what you think this answer should be, because, I'm immediately thinking about networking, just like you've pointed out just now. But I think there are also obvious solutions to our problems that, aside from the evident ones like your manager or, people who are already in leadership positions, who else would you point out to us and say, pay attention to this kind of person? That's the sort of support that you need for the next transition.
So when I look at my career, in terms of what has been game changing for me has been people who can give you insights, people who can see what you don't see. And typically, where do you find them? You find them in people in your organization, in your industry who are more senior and who know you. And you also find them in coaches. So mentors or coaches are critical. Mentors will tell you, they'll give you insights. Coaches help you overcome your own barriers, because we all have access to information, but not everyone is using it and succeeding. The difference is with each individual and the way they're using that information. So you have to overcome your own barriers. And I think I don't say this because I'm a coach, but coaching has been one of the game-changing things for me. I remember the first time when I was going for my first manager promotion, I was really I was saying that I wanted to be a manager because if I didn't say it, it would look as if I wasn't ambitious, but deep down I was petrified. And what was at the root of me being scared? Because I was scared of making an error. At the point where I worked, when I become a manager, my work would then get signed off by like the most senior people in the firm. The partners, I work for an accounting firm. So when I become a manager, the work will be signed off by a partner. And I was just petrified of them finding an error in my work, or them signing off something that then turns out to be an error and becomes a problem with the client. So what was really happening was I was holding myself up to an unreasonable level of standard. Because yes, I'm a manager, but everyone makes mistakes. So what if I make a mistake? I'll learn from it. But the fact that I was saying I wanted to be a manager, but I was petrified, it means I was holding myself back. When opportunities came up to actually step into the role of a manager, subconsciously I was holding back because deep down inside I was scared. And it took a coach to help me to unpack that and help me realize that, it's okay that even the senior managers, people above you, they make mistakes. That's fine. And by just breaking that, and then I was able to then confidently go and get the promotion that I needed. So I think coaches and mentors are really, really critical.
I've got a question, Buki. So would you say that in trying to break through the glass ceiling or get past the sticky floors, sometimes we need to focus on what really counts, in the sense that we might have tried so many things. We might have tried networking, we might have tried sponsors within the organization, but ultimately sometimes we have this inherent fear within us that sort of holds us back. Going for a coach, or enlisting the service of a coach has a lot of potential to help us to tease out what really counts within us, but also help us to know that shining star that reflects the most within us that will really make us to be happy, because ultimately you succeed when you're doing something that you really love to do.
Yeah.
Would that be your advice?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's, coaching is about making the unconscious conscious. There's so many elements to it. One of the ways I like to describe it is making the unconscious conscious. And the reality is all of us would default to the familiar. So people from African backgrounds, for example, we default a lot to qualifications and certifications. I know someone recently who was telling me they didn't get, they were applying for roles, like senior roles. They got into like the final rounds of like some senior roles and they didn't get through. And their response was, I'm going to do an MBA. I'll go and do an MBA and they will differentiate me. And I asked the person, well, was the feedback that you didn't have an MBA? Or, how do you know the person that got the role got an MBA and has an MBA? Because by the time you're getting into like final runs of those sorts of interviews, it's not about competence. It comes about fit and how you connected with the people that were interviewing you. Because by the time you get into the final run, they know you can do the job. But then you do an MBA, you have £100,000 debt. So even the salary increase for the next, 3 to 5 years, you're just going to be paying off the debt of getting the MBA. It doesn't make financial sense. A coach will cost you less. That's why I told the person, a coach will cost you a lot less, and you'll get dividends from that. So, but it's a new area. We're not familiar with it. We default to more certification because it's more comfortable. It's more letters after our names. But, look at many of our white counterparts. They don't have so many letters after their names. And, they're the ones managing and leading us, but they're more focused on the softer skills and the things that really matter in the culture that we're in.
You said something that is just key there. You said we default to qualifications, which is quite true. Now, if for people to blend, so being able to go into an interview, being able to blend and show that you are the right fit for the culture of the organization, or at least the right fit into the team. Sometimes, doesn't that require you as an individual also to be a bit intentional in how you expose yourself and how you network with people? Because I believe the more people you've networked with within an organization, the more you understand their ethos, their culture, their nuances, how they behave. And that also helps you to either know if this is a right fit for you or not, because it's a two-way thing. In as much as the organization might think you're not a right fit, you also might have I've had feelings of organizations and conversations with companies that I felt I don't like the people there. I don't like the culture there. So it's a two-way streak. And I think once you get to that level of confidence, then you start to see things that way instead of being dependent on, I need to get this. And if I don't get this, then it's me that has the problem, whereas you shouldn't be looking at things that way.
Absolutely. So you're talking about being grounded and rooted in yourself. And I love that has nothing to do with qualification. Someone could have just a BSc and be very confident, and they go into the interview and they're solid because they believe in themselves. Because confidence, an interview is you're literally just selling yourself. So if you have all these qualifications and you're selling yourself and you're speaking, but you're not speaking from a place of confidence, you're not speaking from a place of conviction, which are a product of confidence. Those are not products of qualifications and letters after our names. So if you really, I think confidence is really important. We don't talk about it enough. And even as people become more senior, sometimes you can think confidence is just when you're junior in your career. But one of the areas I have to work on as I transition from being a corporate professional to a business owner was just my confidence. And every time I need to move to the next level, I realize I have to work on my confidence because I haven't been there before. So naturally, you might be fearful, you might be doubtful. You don't have evidence. This is where believing in yourself, really, really believing in yourself. So you always have to be working on that.
I'm quite conscious of time, so I think I know you've got one key slide, which I would like us all to see. Basi has a question. So since this is quite interactive today, I think we would allow it. Basi, if you want to speak quickly.
Okay, hi, thanks, Buki, and thanks everyone. So I just wanted to add to what Buki shared about sometimes if you're struggling and you begin to default to certifications, I think the market has changed, So maybe in the past, immigrants used to have this feeling that, or this expectation that it has to be papers. But right before my eyes, a bit of that has changed. It's now about the value you bring to the table. And that depends on how you can communicate that to that person. You can have, just like Buki has pointed out, you can have all that experience, but I'm not even sure that you can do what I'm hiring for. Your degree may look nice, but for me as an employer of labor, I want you to do stuff. And I'm taking a chance on you, just like you are taking a chance on me. So it is very important that we believe in ourselves and we communicate value. Yeah. I've spoken to someone that wanted to go into an interview and the person wanted to start talking about degrees. And I said, no, those degrees are there on the CV already seen. Hit the ground running what you can do. Nobody is interested in those degrees. If the person is so keen on those degrees, he will ask you, this degree, is it really a degree? That would probably never even come up. But what can you do for me? Yeah. That is the discussion. So I really relate to what you said, Buki. Thanks for sharing that insight. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Basi.
So
I'll
Buki,
share my
please.
final.
Yes, carry on. And if it's okay with the audience, since we got cut off, we would add an extra 5-10 minutes just to give Buki some extra time to round up, because I know she's got some 1 or 2 slides that would be very good to touch on.
Right. Okay. Yes. So we've shared the 7 steps. So really, what I've just talked you through is a form of a SWOT analysis. If you go through these questions, you identify your strengths, your weaknesses, and your opportunities. Your weaknesses are just the areas you need to develop on, the gaps you need to fill. And this way, you're actually positioning yourself to elevate in the way you want. You're being intentional on how you're going to go through your career in 2023. Now, let's talk about some common career elevation strategies. And I think a lot of this has to do with personal branding. Yeah. So one of the things, especially as you become more senior in your career, you have to establish your expertise and excellence in an area. Specializing is key because it's easier for you to get known, it's easier for you to get attention where you're known for a particular thing. So I always call it, your expertise and your excellence in a specific area is the foundation of a respected personal brand. So this is really important. I think sometimes personal branding or the current messages or some of the messages on personal branding can actually get lost. The foundation of your personal brand has to be expertise and excellence. And I think this is an area we sometimes struggle with. I know I struggled with this in my career, particularly around getting the opportunities that allow you to develop that expertise. And this is where the relationships come in, that you have to build relationships, identify the area where you want to be known for, where you want to stand out, and build connections with leaders that can give you those sort of opportunities. So in my workplace where projects will come in, and by the time I'm hearing about the projects, they've already been allocated to the people that are going to work on it. And I found okay, I wasn't getting the right experience. So I needed to get in front and actually be hearing about these projects when they're in the pipeline. And it was building relationships with people and asking them regularly what's in the pipeline, what's coming in. So before they're allocated, I'm in. Okay. You have to lose this old thing around I'm Black. You have to forget about your color. There's an element where you really have to forget about your color, because if you're so conscious about your color, is going to limit you, whether it's Black, Asian, whatever it is really going to limit you. Really focus on the expertise and the excellence you want to build. So the other thing that you also need to focus on is, if you're a true expert, then you have to be able to teach and train in your field. And this is really good, whether I find this is a good way to build your brand, to create value and build visibility for yourself. Again, sometimes people think visibility is all about being seen anywhere and everywhere. No, you want your own visibility to be attached to value. So visibility is about creating value. So one key way to create value is to teach, train. If you offer to run lunchtime sessions, people see you, people hear you. Is this making sense? Do we agree? Any questions so far?
It's all good.
Okay, yeah. So elevating your career. The third thing I would say is communicate your ambition and create the connections you need to make it happen. You know, people cannot read your minds. This is where what we were talking earlier, confidence, imposter syndrome, all of that, you really have to work on those. Literally, you have, you know, in 2023, imposter syndrome, confidence should not be holding anybody back. You can actually work on it. You know, a few coaching sessions will resolve it for you. Read a book. If a book hasn't worked, get a coach. It can be resolved very quickly. It's one of the things that I really support people with, because things happen that knock your confidence. And if you don't deal with it, you begin to build on it, build on it, and build on it. And it's not helpful, to the point where you can't share, you know, you can't share your ambition. If you want to be a leader in your organization, don't be ashamed to share that. In fact, you need to people hearing that, so people can advise you if they need to and point you in the right direction. But it's not enough to just communicate your ambition, think about where you want to be. You also have to create the connections to make it happen. I think I strongly believe that, you know, your destiny is in your hands, your career is in your hands. You know, if you work in the West as a Black or someone of any of a minority background, yes, you have extra challenges because of structural issues, but the reality is people make it. You just have to know it's a little bit harder. People make it. So if you tell yourself that you're going to be one of those that make it, trust me, you will. You will break through the barriers. When we face challenges in our career, if we're resolute that we're going to defeat it, if we're resolute that we're going to overcome it, you find that you actually make a way. You find a way to make it happen. So really important to communicate your ambition and begin to build relationships that will make it happen. So you need sponsors and supporters. They are necessities. And you don't always, sometimes, you know, another thing people talk about a lot now is, you know, asking directly for someone to sponsor you. Ideally, when we think about our white counterparts, they don't really ask for sponsorship. Those sponsorship relationships develop naturally. So I want to encourage you to put yourself in positions where you are making time to build relationships, where you get comfortable sharing yourself. And how do you build relationships? You know, it's really based on people knowing you. So make yourself available to be known. You find that many of us, you know, outside of work, we might have like leadership positions in our community, and then we go to work and then we shrink. You know, they see a different side of us. Why? You know, really, really get comfortable with who you are, because that's what's going to make you shine. And we're now in the age where diversity and inclusion and belonging is a big deal. So if you're at the point where you're still hiding, you're still not sure whether I'll be accepted, I'm going to tell you to loosen up a little bit, loosen up and really, really get grounded. That, you know, if you know your stuff, you don't have to be an expert yet, but you're working on it, because you're working on it and you're growing, you're developing yourself, you're investing in yourself. Then really stand in your strength, stand in your identity, because that's what's going to make you shine. Because many times we don't build these connections, we don't build this relationship because we are holding back, because we don't want to get seen, we don't want to share about ourselves. Sometimes we don't even trust people. You know, we have we've heard stories, I coach a lot, so I had different things hold people back. And then they realize, actually, I've just created more problems for myself because of the way I'm thinking and because of the way I'm interacting with my environment. I could go on and on about this, but we need to really get on top of this. And then the fourth thing I would say is be a leader. You don't need a title to lead. In many organizations, it doesn't matter what level, even at the graduate level, they will have some sort of attributes, like leadership attributes they expect you to be demonstrating. So understand how leadership is defined at your current level and also at the level above you, because if you're at one level, yeah, you want to master this level, but also, you know, if you're looking to get promoted, then you need to start thinking about how you're demonstrating leadership at that next level as well. So you don't need a title to lead, but you have to have the attributes of a leader. And that's one of the ways that we can actually differentiate ourselves in our careers. Because I think leadership, in my experience, leadership is one of the things that's really lacking in our organizations. So if you're someone that really develop yourself as a leader, read books, listen to podcasts on leadership, that you actually evolve. You see people and you look at them and you see, oh, that one looks, they have executive presence. They look like a leader. What is it? It's because of the way the person is. You can become that person too if you invest in building your leadership attributes. And then finally, bring your style, your swag, and your signature to your career. Please don't be vanilla. You really have to be, you have to stand in your power. This is how you're going to thrive. Remember in my career when I just felt you had to blend in and I just had to be quiet. It doesn't work. If you work for a nice organization, and if you're an organization where you feel stifled, where you feel actually, Buki, all of these things you're saying is not possible, that is a clue that you need to move somewhere else. We're in 2023. Many organizations are really looking to be progressive. So it's important for you to be yourself, to be a refined and really a refined version of yourself, because you spend a lot of time in your career. You're going to spend a lot of time at work. It's important to be fulfilled. And if you're not comfortable, if you're code switching all the time, it's exhausting. It is exhausting, and you cannot lead effectively like that. If you think about the leaders that you admire, one of the things you'll find out about them is, and it's a word they use a lot, and sometimes it loses its value. They talk about being authentic. Just think about being yourself, being a refined and the version of yourself. Being a refined version of yourself doesn't mean you have to change, but it's just that you're more refined and your uniqueness matters. Your style, your swag, and your signature. Bring all of that into your career. So these are some things that you can really do to position yourself. This is not just a 1 year thing. You do this over the course of your career. This is building a brand. This is building a respectable brand. This is building a brand that would open doors for you. So when you think about this, what can stop all of this from happening? Really two things. It's going to be, challenges that will come along the way, opportunities, all of that. We've talked about it. You just have to keep banging those doors. Resilience. Black and brown people who thrive in their careers, they're incredibly resilient. And that's something you can learn and build. Obviously, there are other work that are going on in organizations around D&I. And, I know AFBE is involved in making organizations more inclusive. So all of that work is going on. But you may still be in a position where you have to strive a little bit harder. Just take it. It's just a reality. That's just your cross, to be honest, and just keep going. So dealing with challenges are one of the things that can stop this or get in the way of you showing all of these attributes. The other thing is your confidence. And we've talked about it a lot. Confidence is key. As Black and brown people, we really, really have to work on our confidence to make sure that we are positioning ourselves to thrive and we are not the ones getting in the way of ourselves. So really come alive to all the stories that you're telling yourself that may be holding you back, all the beliefs or the limiting thoughts, and really, really try to start divorcing yourself from them and focus on what you want and get clear on how you're going to get there. And I believe if you do all of this, then you will have a really successful 2023. And on that note, I will hand over to Roy.
Thank you very much, Buki. There's something you said. I think it's point 4 when you said be a leader, and you said be intentional. And there's one thing that I always say to people: there is a table at every level.
Yeah.
So the excuse of you're not a leader because you're not managing the organization, or you're not a team lead, or you're not the senior person who is in charge of that team or whatever job specification you have been giving is not right. There's a table at every level, and on whatever level you are on, try and be on that table. If it's a graduate role, there's a table there.
Yeah.
If it's a senior role, there's a table there. There's a table at every level. And Buki, thank you very much. I think I've touched on certain things here that I'm excited, to practice in my career. And yes, it has been exciting. Emma, any words from you? Last words?
It really has been invigorating. I think that's the word I will use. I started the new month by working out for the first time in 2022, but this is the workout that I obviously need for professional growth. So thank you very much, Buki. Very well.
Thank you. And if any one of you wants to reach out to Buki, please, you can reach her on LinkedIn. She's very approachable, and possibly very affordable. But I didn't say that. But yes, please feel free to reach out to her if you want any sessions. But also be aware of our leadership training program, Transcend, where pretty much everything that Buki has touched on will be covered in our Transcend leadership training program. We are just waiting for a few things to come out, and we would be advertising this in the next few days, actually. Hopefully from next week it will be out. So if you think you qualify to get into the Transcend program, because this is for people who want to progress their careers into senior leadership roles, please, when it comes out, put an eye on this space, fill in an application form. Do not say, I'm not a leader yet, or do not say, I'm not ready to go into leadership role within my organization. No, that's not the right way to think about it. Put in an application, and you never know. You just might be lucky, and you just might be sponsored by an organization. Our next leadership talk will be next month in March, and we'll be having a very wonderful lady as well, Patricia. And we'll be talking about resilience and optimism. And it will be a conversation on a business and equity experience. So quite a very professional talk as well. And I would invite all of you to join the next leadership talk session. We also have the AFBE Gala Awards, which is coming up at the end of this year in November, I believe. Please, it will be good for you guys to sign up. The event is already on our website. We have a brand new website which will be launched very soon, but most of this information is currently on the existing website. Please participate, get your tickets. If there's anything that runs out very quickly, it's the tickets, because everyone uses it as an opportunity to network. So it will be happening at the P&G Live in Aberdeen on the 24th of November, 2023. This is an opportunity for you to meet with industry leaders, to meet with organizations, and to expand your network. Over the years, I have actually, participated, and I've been able to expand my networks. So this is an opportunity. If you've never been to Aberdeen, take this as an opportunity to have a holiday, come down, attend the event, and you would have a very exhilarating experience, which you will not forget. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Buki, it's a pleasure. We hope to see you at the top. Well, I guess you're already at the top, and we'll all meet at the top.
We're all at the top.
We're all at the top. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Lovely to connect.
Thank you, Buki. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we can stop recording now.